Welcome to this lecture on collections in Python. Specifically, we're going to be talking about lists, tuples, and dictionaries. Every programming language has a way to combine multiple lists of items together in some sort of fashion that they can be indexed. And so we're going to talk about how to create those. We'll start with the most basic type, which is a list. Lists are very basic. You can simply set a variable equal to a list in brackets, and you can then manipulate that. Let's go ahead and start. I'm going to start with the variable x. I'm going to make x equal to, and when you create a list, you have to use square brackets. So I'll put a square bracket, and in this case, I'll use even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. And each one of these now is then, each one of these values separated by the comma is an entry in that list, and that list has now been defined as x. Let's just put a comment here. This creates a list of even integers. Okay. So here is my this is the list, and now I can then go ahead and I can print. So I'll print x. Let's go ahead and save this now. I'm going to save this as, and we'll call this list.py. And let's go ahead and run it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my command prompt, and I'll type Python list.py. And you'll notice that the list x, when I printed x, it prints the list 2, 4, 6, 8. And each of those are entries now in that list. Okay. Now you can actually, every list has an auto-generated index. And that index starts with 0. So we can now print all the values. So we will print the values in this list by their index number. So print the values of this list by the index number. So let's go ahead and try that. So let's type the code together. So it is simply, you would just type print, and then I'm going to print x just like I did before. But this time I'm going to put in square brackets. I'm going to put the value of the index of the value I want to print. And I'm going to start with 0. So I had 4 values in here. So my next one would be print x bracket 1, which would be the next value, and then print x bracket 2, which would be my next value, and then print x bracket 3, which would be my next index. So these are the 4 indexes for these 4 corresponding values. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes. And I will now go ahead and open up my, and run Python, same command, Python list.py. And now I get, when I first printed x, I printed just simply the values, the values. Now I decided to print the index, and I got the corresponding value. So each print statement printed the same thing, but this time I used the index number to print that value. So hopefully you're able to understand that. It can be a little complicated. What you're looking at here is I'm printing the index. So 2 has an index of 0, 4 has an index of 1, 6 has an index of 2, and 8 has an index of 3. If I added another one to this list, such as 10, then that would have an index of 4. Okay? So that's how you create a list. And we'll come back to lists in a minute, but for now, let's talk about tuples. So now we will create a tuple. Tuple is a mathematical term, by the way, and it's just borrowed here. The big thing is tuples tuples cannot change. So we cannot change it. We call them immutable. So the term is immutable, which means that they cannot change. And so let's go ahead and create a tuple now. So I'm going to go y. This will be my y will be equal to my tuple. And tuples are created with parentheses. So 1, comma, 3. I'll just do odd numbers now, right? 3, comma, 5, comma, 7. This is my tuple in odd numbers. And now let's go ahead and say, now let's print the tuple. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a print statement here, just so we know what we're doing here. This now demonstrates the result of creating a tuple. There we go. All right. So now let's go ahead and do that. So print y. So let's just print y, and now let's save our changes and see what that looks like. Okay. So notice that when I printed a list, it was 2468, and I printed the tuple now, and the tuple's in parentheses. So that was pretty easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep up with this theme. I like this theme that we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and print this now demonstrates the result of creating a list. I'm just going to keep up this theme throughout this whole thing. And now I'll go ahead and print here. This demonstrates how to print a list by using the index value, the index number. Okay, so there you go. So so far you've been able to create a list and you've been able to create a tuple. Congratulations. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. In fact, let me just think, what do I want to show you next? Okay, let's do this. One thing I do need to make sure you understand, lists and tuples, I should say, it doesn't matter if they're integers or if they're floating point or if they're text, strings. In fact, they can be mixed. So let's go ahead and talk through that. So lists, tuples, dictionaries. Dictionary. Boy, I haven't spelled that one in a while. Lists, tuples, and dictionaries can have mixed data types. So this is an important consideration. So let's go ahead and demonstrate how to. And let me add one more thing here. You already did that. I told you list tuples cannot change. So let's go ahead and now do z. So z is equal to, and then in brackets, I'm doing another list. I'll show you. You could have a number, comma, and then in quotes you can put a name. I'll put my name, Guy, and then comma. Then you can put a number, 100.55, right? So in this case, I have this will auto type to an integer. This will auto type as a string, and this will auto type as a floating point. So that shows you how to do that. Now, what I'll do now is I'm going to now demonstrate print. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to also take advantage of printing a line of space. So that'll print a line of space. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type print this now demonstrates creating a list of mixed data types. Okay, so we can have mixed data types. So let me just print z now. Print z, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. And let's flip over to our our program here. I'm going to clear the screen. I'll run it again. Okay, so notice I got my little blank line of space there. And so now this demonstrates creating a list of mixed data types. So I just created a list of mixed data types, and notice it was able to function properly. So that's creating a list of mixed data types. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and enter down here a little bit to move this all up to the top of the screen here. Okay, very good. So now you know how to create a list and return from that list variable data types. So there you go. Next thing, let's talk about the fact that lists, and I'll just say collections, because lists, tuples, and dictionaries are the same here. Collections can have embedded items in them. So, example, a list can have another list in it, right? So this is a little confusing. The best way is to explain it. So I've ran out of letters. I should have started with sooner letters. So let's start back over with A. So we'll say A is equal to, and I'm going to put in, I'm going to create a list with brackets, 2, 4, 6, 8, right? And then I'll do 8, and then I'll do another bracket, right? 10, 12, 14, 16, and notice that I have a bracket within a bracket. So basically, this 10, 12, 14, 16 is one list, and then 2, 4, 6, 8 with the other list makes up another list. So I've embedded a list into a list. So let's go ahead and do print. Let's just get used to making a line space there so we can keep it clean, right? Oops. There you go. And then let's say print. This will show the results of an embedded. This will show the results of an embedded list. Okay. So print. Let's print A now. Okay, so we'll print A. Now, let me save my changes. Let's go back and take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to clear the screen. Let's run it again. Okay, so down there before, oh, wrong one. I ran the wrong. I need to run. I ran the wrong program there. List.py, right? There we go. All right, so this now demonstrates creating a list of mixed data types, and then this will show you the result of an embedded list. And notice it shows me exactly the embedded list, so I'm able to do that. Now, what the real trick here is, this is the real kicker, is if I were to do the same command, so what happens when I print an index of this mixed or this embedded list? So this is kind of interesting, right? So this is 0. This is indexed as 0. 4 is indexed as 1. 6 is indexed as 2, right? 8 is indexed as 3. And then what is indexed as 4? Is 10 indexed as 4, or is the whole thing indexed as 4? So let's find out. So I'm going to print, this is what happens when I print the index of the embedded list. All right, so let's go print. And in order to print the embedded list, just like we did before, I do A, and then in brackets, I'm going to put that 4, right? Close bracket. So that's print. So let's see what happens when I print the 4th index of that list. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save, go back, and let's see what happens. Make sure I run the right program. There we go. All right, take a look at that. So when I printed the index number 4, it wasn't number 10. This entry number 4 was this entire list, right? Pretty neat. Now, you can also very important to understanding lists. You can also, and let me move this up a little bit for you. You can also combine. You can create lists of other lists by their variable. So you can use variables in a list. So let's see what that would look like. So I could make B equal. So I'll make another list called B, and I'll make B equal to a couple of the lists that I created before. So I'll go bracket X, comma, Y. And if you remember back up above here, I made X equal to some even numbers, and I made Y equal to some odd numbers. So I'm making a list of the X list and the Y tuple, right? So I'm creating a list of that, right? So it's just interesting. I know you probably never would do that, but I'm just showing you the flexibility that we have to do that, right? So let's go ahead and see what happens when I print out the index holders for that. So I'm going to say print this. This shows what happens when printing the index of list members that are variables. Right? Pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and print, and this time I'm going to print, I'll print B, which is the variable I'm using, bracket, and I'll do 0. So I'll print the first index entry, which in this case should be X, right? So I'm printing the value of X. And I'm going to then print B. I'm going to print the value of Y. So, not Y, of index of 1, right? So in this case, I'm printing 0 and 1, the index values of those. So let's see what happens when I do that. The result should be that I get the values back of those items. So let's see what happens. I'll clear my screen here, and let's run that. Oh, sure enough. Notice that the 0 index returned X, which is what we got before for X, and the 1 index produced the tuple, which was the odd, right? So very good. Excited. That was pretty neat. All right, moving on then. So I think you got the basics of that. So let's now demonstrate the use of a dictionary. So you've created a list, you've created a tuple. Now we're going to create a dictionary. And so you know a list is flexible, right? You can add, move, change to it. I haven't shown you how to do that, but you can do that with a list. A tuple, you can add, move, change. Both are auto-generated by an index value. A dictionary is somewhat similar to a list, but you create the index values. You create, and they're not called indexes, by the way. They're called keys and their values. So we're going to create a key and a value. Key and values. So we're going to create a dictionary, which is a bunch of keys and values. So here's an example of creating that key value pair. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to use C. I haven't used C yet. So C equals 2. And then whenever you create a dictionary, you use curly braces, right? And then I'm going to type in, I'll put in the names of my kids. So Aiden, and I'm going to say Aiden is colon 13. So here's my key, which is Aiden, and my value, which is 13, right? So that's how you create a dictionary entry. And then you separate them with commas. And then we do my next one. My daughter's name is Jolie. And I will then colon, her age is 11. And then I'll do comma. And I'll do my other daughter, which is Belle. And I'll do colon. And her age is 6. So there I've got my 3 keys, which is Aiden, Jolie, and Belle. And my 3 values, which is 13, 11, and 6. That is effectively how you create a dictionary, right? So very good. So let's go ahead and move. Let's show the printing of that. Let's give ourselves a little bit of space here. I'll give ourselves a line space there, then I'll say print. This is the results of creating a dictionary. Okay, and then we'll go print, and we're going to print C. And let's see what happens when I do that. So we're going to save our changes and go back to running a Python script, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so what I get down here is this is the results of creating the dictionary. Aiden, 13, Jolie, 11, Bill, 6. So I have a dictionary now, and I've got my keys with their corresponding values. That's pretty simple to do, right? So you got the idea of how to create a dictionary. Okay, important. This is important. Important note. Dictionaries. So the important note here is that dictionaries, right, which is what we just created, do not have a defined order. Do not have a defined order. So dictionaries do not have a defined order. They have a custom index, and we just created that custom index. So you can print a particular value. So print here. Here is the result of printing. Not printing. Printing the. We want to print the value of a corresponding key, right? So we're going to print the value of a corresponding key. So we'll go print, right? And we will do parentheses, C, and then we will do bracket, and we will put in quotes the key that we want to print, which in this case is, we'll just pick one of my kids, Jolie. We'll print that one, and after we're done, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let's go ahead and clear the screen, and let's run that. And now it says this is the result. Here is the result of printing the value of a corresponding key. And notice I printed the value that was associated with Jolie, which was the key, and that value is 11, as you can see there. So very good. That's how you print the value of a corresponding key. Now, there's a lot of fun you can start having with dictionaries. So it's pretty interesting what we can do here. So let's go ahead and dive into this further. But before we get into dictionaries, let me show you some manipulation of a list, and then we'll show you manipulation of a dictionary. So lists are important because you can add, remove, change, right? That's what we're going to deal with. So we're going to create. We'll continue in the family example. So we'll continue with the family example to demonstrate the many features of a list. So I'm going to say my family. I'll use that as my variable. My family is equal to, now in order to create a list, I'm going to do brackets. I'm going to create Guy, my wife Lori, and then my kids, Aiden, Jolie, Belle, right? So those are my kids, and that's my family. Oh, I made a horrible mistake, by the way, if you didn't notice. I am not allowed to put in strings without quotes in front of them, right? So that's very important. So I'm going to put my quotations in front of my strings like a good programmer. Okay, so now that I've done that, family is equal to each of those values. Now, let's show, this is the hard way. So I'm going to show you the hard way to print out a list of entries by their index number. So let's go ahead and print here is our list output by index using the print statement. Right, so this is going to be the hard way. Okay, so you could go print family, and then in brackets we'll put the first index value, right, and then we'll continue on. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this a few times, 4 or 5 there, and I'll go print 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 5 family numbers starting at 0. I'm printing them by their index value. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and add ourselves a little print line feed here. So when I run our script, we have a space between our last example and this example. So I'm going to go File, Save, and let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so notice our list output by index is now print. I've printed each one of those. However, you'll notice, so anyway, we'll talk about something that you might notice here in a minute, but let's make this first easier. All right, that was really hard work. We had to print 5 statements, and I had to get cute by copy and pasting. There has to be an easier way, and there is. We can use lists in loops. And you learned about loops last time we talked. So you can use lists and loops, and you can embed them just like you would embed a variable. So let's go ahead and deal with that. Print. I'm going to do another line feed here. Oops. Print. Here is our list output using a loop instead, right? So let's see, just see how simple this is, right? I can now do for, and now I need a new variable. So before I created family as my list variable, I need to create a variable that's going to hold the temporary item from the family list that I'm going to loop through. So in this case, I'll call it member. So the family, I'll call it member. So for the member, right, in family. So I'm saying for each member in family, and I'm going to put semicolon there, and then I'm going to print then the member. I'm going to print that variable member that I've extracted out of the family list. And let's see what happens when I do that. Notice that this one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code to do that. And this one is simply 1, 2 lines of code, right? So let's go ahead and save that. And we'll go take a look at what that looks like. Look at this. So we got the same result, but this time I simply looped through the list and printed each member. So that was a much cleaner and elegant way to accomplish that. And by the way, you will note that this is exactly one of the more powerful reasons why we use Python, is because clean, easy, legible text with a lot of power. And we'll talk. It'll get more and more as we go. But that's a clear example of how Python can do things easily. And it makes a lot of sense for member and family print member. It just makes sense. All right. So now you might want to note what happens when you try to print a list member. Try to get a result, I should say, get a result from a list with an index that is not in the range, right? So what happens? Let's try it. So we've got 5 family members, right? So let's do print family, and then let's print a list like number 7, right? We know that number 7 index does not exist. So, in fact, before we do that, I'll go ahead and print a, let's print another, I'm going to print another character there. And then All right, let's see what happens when I print an index out of range. I'm going to save that. Let's go look at it and see what happens. Notice I get an error. And see what the exact error is. List index is out of range. That's the error message you get when you try to print an index item out of range. So go ahead and put a pound sign in front of that so it doesn't mess this up in the future. But you get the idea of what would happen. Now, it would be kind of nice. It would be kind of nice to. Oh, by the way, let me just. If you ever wanted to add a family member to this list, right now you can go up here and click comma, quote, and let's add our dog. Dobie. So I'm adding our dog. I'm going to save that, and you should see the result spit right out, right? So notice that I've now got Dobie here. Didn't have it before, but I have Dobie here now, right? So we're able to print, simply by adding that list in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at now. There's got to be a better elegant way to open up your code and add a member. So we got to figure out how to deal with that. But before we do that, I got to deal with this index out of range issue, because we could accidentally end up printing an index that doesn't exist. So one way to do that is to use the range command. But in order for the range command to work, we have to know the length of something. Now, there's a cool function, interesting function called len or length. It actually stands for length. So I can figure out the length of something. So pretty cool. So let's go ahead and try to do that. So I want the length, so I can simply set L is equal to the length of family, right? So that length, I want to know what the length is of my family. So then if I go ahead and print L, I don't like using L's, by the way. They look too much like number ones. But let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. So I'm going to save that, and let's go here and see what that looks like. Notice that the length of my family is a 6. Do you see that? 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members. So I know that my index is going to go from 0 to 5 because I have the length of 6, right? So that's pretty easy. So using that knowledge, I can now do interesting. Well, let's make this more elegant. First off, let's do something more fun. Print using your knowledge of the print command, there are, comma, comma, L, comma, and then what will we say? Members in our family, right? There are L members of our family. So I'm going to save that, and let's see what that produces. There you go. There are 6 members in our family. So we can use that len command to count what's inside the list or the dictionary or any other type of thing. Now let's move on, because I can also use now that I know the length, I can use the range command to go have the loop go through all items up to the certain amount. So let me show you how to do that. So we can use the range. So we can use let me see, how do I say this? We can use the range command to set boundaries of our for loop. So let's see how that would work. I would do for member in range, right? And I can say what the range is going to be. For member in this range, in parentheses, I'm going to do 0. That's the first number of the index, comma, to the last number of index, which is L. And if you remember, the range command does not include the last number, which is 6. The range command will include the first number, but not the last number, which means this will go all the way up to 5, okay? So for that range, for the member in range, print and then I'm going to say family, right? And then I want the index number. So I'm going to print I want the actual member. So I'm going to say family, and then I'll put the index number. So member is representing the index value. So this is the same. This would be the same thing as typing 0 or 1 or 2, right? I'm just typing member. So family member, right? So this will return the value or the family member value, comma, and I'm going to say I'll put in quotes is family member number, and then we'll do comma, and then I'll say member, and then I'll put member, which is the actual number of member this time. So this will simply give me a printout of each family member and what number they are in the family. Because, in our family, we're always ranking each other. So let's go ahead and go to File, Save, and I will go ahead and run that one, and let's see what happens. Here, notice I get Guy as family number 0, Lori is family number 1, Aiden is family number 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Although I don't think our dog thinks he's number 5. He probably thinks he's number 1, but you get the idea. So, so back to our code. So that's an easy way to do it, but that's still not that elegant. We can actually do a little bit better. We have special commands. So let's talk about lists and also other things, but mainly lists. Oops. Lists have special commands. One of them is going after a particular index value, right? So print, this will now show how show the index value for Bell. So let's go grab the index value for just one entry in the dictionary, which is Bell. So I'll say D is equal to family dot, and here's the command, dot index. So you have this actual family now has this function called index, and I can say, and I want to know what the value is for Bell. And now I can go ahead and print D, right? So let's see what that looks like. This should be interesting. All right, this will show the index value for Bell, which is 4, right? So we went and got the index value for Bell in the family list. Let's make sure that was right. 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It was. So Bell was number 4. So that's how you can use a special command called family.index to retrieve the index value for a particular member of the list. Okay. However, that was just basic. It can even get better. Now that I know that, I don't really need to mess around with the range command. This allows me to use the .index command to be more specific in my return results. So let's go ahead and try that, right? So I'm going to print, let's add some space here. Okay, so let's try this. So print, I will now show, I will now list each family member and their number without the range command. Okay, without the range function, I should say. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So we're going to say for member in family, okay, we're going to, for member in family, don't forget your semicolon like I just did, print member, so that's the number, right, member, comma, member, that'll be the number, so 1, we'll say quotes, is, comma, family.index, and then we'll do member, right? Family.index member, and then we'll do in family. Pretty interesting. All right, let's save that and see what that does. All right, so this does exactly the same thing, right? I say Guy, the member, Guy is 0 in the family. The index value is 0 in the family. Laura is 1 in the family. Aiden is 2 in the family. So you see, I did the same thing, but this time I displayed the member, and then I displayed their index value using this .index command. So a lot of these lists, tuples, dictionaries, things like this all have functions that go along with them, and you can use them to do different powerful features. Of course, I have to talk about the most powerful way. And by the way, this shows you just how completely flexible and how you can manipulate Python to do things that you want to, which is totally great. Now, I have to get to the most important features, right? I've been just messing around here. Now we have to get to how to add, remove, and change items in a list, right? So this is probably the most important thing to figure out. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. So print. Oh, let's do a blank space there, and then we'll print. Okay, this will now show you how to replace the family dog with Bilbo. So I'm going to replace Dobie with Bilbo. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now I can do this with values or putting the direct input in. So let's say I set a new value to the new index value will be equal to 5. And the new name will be equal to Bilbo. Now, what was the index value? Well, let's go back and look at the command prompt. The index value for Dobie was 5. So we're going to make sure that the index is 5, and we want the new name to be Bilbo. So this command is really rather easy. I'm going to say family, which is the name of the array, and then I'm going to give it the index value. We'll call this new index, right? And then I'm going to say that is equal to the new name. Okay, and then I can go ahead and print family and prove to you that it worked. So I'm basically putting family, the index value, which in this case is 5, and I'm setting that equal to the new name, which in this case is the string Bilbo. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and we're going to run that now. All right, so this will now show you how to replace the family dog with Bilbo. I've got Guy, Laura, Aiden, Jolie, Belle, and now there's no more Dobie. It's now Bilbo. So that gives you an idea of how to set print family using that. So this is how you can. Oh, by the way, going back to our code, I am hoping, because you've been going through this class, that you will now see how you could grab input from a user and put the input from the user in these values instead of having them hard-coded, right? So I think you'll be able to see how to do that. In fact, I'm beginning to see an assignment coming in the works here. But let's go ahead and now talk about the next thing we can do. And that might be how to remove the dog. We don't want Bilbo anymore. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let's add a new member to the list. So we are going to add Frodo the dog now. All right, so we're going to add Frodo the dog. So let's go ahead and add Frodo, and let's do that. So I would say print. This will add a new dog named Frodo. And we'll go new name is equal to, so a new name will be equal to the string Frodo. New name is equal to the string Frodo. Family, and here's the command, family.append, right? And you do family.append, and then you put in brackets the variable or the direct text that you want to append, the direct value. In this case, I'm going to do the variable new name. So family.append new name. And then I can just simply print family. And you'll see that that's really easy. And it'll automatically add the index number. You don't have to worry about that with the list. So let's go ahead and look at this now. I'm going to clear the screen. Oops. Let's run the Python list. And now this will add a new dog named Frodo. So now we've got Guy, Lori, Aiden, Jolie, Belle, Bilbo, and Frodo. All right, so we've added Frodo. Good old Frodo. All right, so now that's pretty easy. Oh, but let's say we need to remove somebody, right? So let's say poor Bilbo goes away. So we got to remove. So let's go. This will now demonstrate how to remove a list member. We are going to get rid of Bilbo. Oh, poor Bilbo. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So print, I'm going to give us some blank space here, just so it creates another line. Right, just create another line of space. And let's print this will remove Bilbo from our family. All right, so let's go ahead and do the remove name. So what is the remove name going to be? This is just a variable I'm creating. Remove name, and make sure you put it in quotes, Bilbo. So that's going to be the name I'm going to remove. And then you just simply do family dot and remove. And here's where you're going to put in the name of the name has to match something in the list. And so our remove name, which is Bilbo, should match something in the list. And then we can go ahead and print family. All right. And let's go ahead and save the changes there. And we'll go ahead and see what happens when we run the Python. Oh, notice that this will remove Bilbo. Now notice we have Guy, Laura, Aiden, Jolie, Belle, and Frodo. No more Bilbo. All right? Pretty simple. See how easy it is to add, remove things from a list. Pretty straightforward, right? Good. So that's how you do it. Now, let's move on. Let's move on to dictionaries. Dictionaries have the same power. They work a little bit differently because you have to create your own values, your own keys and your own values, like we talked about before. So let's use a real estate example. So let's use a house with room types and quantities. So that's going to be our keys and our values. Our keys will be the room type, and our values will be the number of rooms. So let's go ahead and do that. Print all right, so let's go ahead and print in rooms is equal to, and then we'll do, in order to do a dictionary, you have to do the curly bracket. So curly bracket is equal to quotes bathrooms. Actually, I don't like doing the double quotes on these. Let's do the single quote bathrooms, and then we'll do then you do after the quote you do colon 4 comma, and then you do the next quote, and now here's your next. So I have 4 bathrooms, and we'll do bedrooms. And then I have colon, how many bedrooms do I have? 1, 2, sorry. I have to do a colon 4, bedrooms 4, and then comma, I have to do colon garages. I have a 2-car garage, so garages, colon 2, right? I guess that works. No, not 3, 2. And then comma, and then I'll just say other rooms, right? Colon, and I have 3 other rooms. All right, so that's how you create rooms. And then we can print and we'll say this is what this is a dictionary of room types and quantity. Okay, then we'll print rooms. We'll print rooms, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to save that, and then we'll go ahead and do that. See what that looks like. There you go. So now you've got your dictionary. Other 3, bedrooms 4, bathrooms 4, garages 2. So that's how you create a dictionary, and you can see what the results of what that looks like. Now, we can have some fun with this now, but you'll notice that when I printed rooms, it produced the entire dictionary list. I can also use dictionaries in loops. So let's do print. So here is a dictionary used in a loop. So let's see how you can do a dictionary. So for room, oh, by the way, so rooms is the name of the dictionary. So I can create a single variable called room. So I'll just make up a new variable called room. In rooms, and I'll do a colon, and then I'll do print, and then I'm going to print each variable room in that for loop. So you're going to print room in rooms, and let's see what returns when we do that. Notice here I get other, garages, bedrooms, bathrooms, right? But notice I only get the keys. I do not get the values when I return that. So when I return that, I do not get the values. I only get the keys. So that is an important distinction you have to note. So if I want the quantity to display, I have to do a little bit of a trick here. So let's go ahead and print, just to keep this separate, we'll do another breaking page space. And then what we'll do is I'll show you the house with it. So for room in rooms, this is what it'll look like. So I can say the house has a room type of, and then I'll do comma, and I can say room. So this will be the room type, comma, with a quantity of, right? And now here's where you can do this command. So you type rooms, and then in the bracket, you're going to put the room, the actual key. So here I'll put room. So I'm going to get a list of the quantity for each room in rooms, right? So that'll show you how that works. So let's go ahead and save, and you can see what this command does here. So let's go ahead and do that. See what happens? The house has a room type of bathrooms with a quantity of 4, other the quantity of 3, garages the quantity of 2, blah, 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 right? So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, we're almost done. So let's go ahead and finish up now with just a few more things that we can do with a dictionary, and then we will be finished. So one thing we can do, I want to, I can print just the room keys. So here's a couple of commands you can do. So I'm going to do print rooms dot keys, and then you put a parentheses after keys. Keys does not require you to pass a value in there. You just have to put the brackets at the end of the function. This will show you all of the keys. You can also set this equal to a variable, so you can do e equals to rooms dot keys, and then you could do print e if you wanted to. That'll give you the same result. It's just a different way of doing it. You can also print values of a dictionary. So you can do print or return the values of a dictionary. I'll just return them in a print command. So rooms.values, right? And I also can return items. And you'll see the difference between values and items and keys. So I'll do rooms.items, and I'll return that as well. So let's go ahead and save our changes and see what all three of those produced. See, notice that keys gives me bathrooms, bedrooms, others, and garages. Those are my keys. Values gives me 4432. And items gives me both the key and the corresponding value. So those are three additional commands that you can do with a dictionary. Now, how do you update? So let's talk about how to update a dictionary. So this is pretty straightforward, actually. So print. Now let's add. Let's update the bedrooms to a quantity of 5. Right. So let's update the bedrooms to a quantity of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and type rooms bracket. Make sure you put in quote bedrooms, the exact key value. So you're putting the exact key value. It'll even pop up and show you if you're using Sublime. And then you do equals 5. So I'm saying that for the dictionary rooms, the exact key bedrooms, I want that to be equal to the new value of 5. And then go ahead and print rooms and see what happens. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's look at what happens. All right, and notice that bedrooms has now been set to 5, right? So bedrooms is now set to 5. So next thing, adding is really easy. So print. Now let's add a room type. Let's add room types. Okay, adding room types will be really easy. I can do rooms bracket. We'll create a new room type of lofts. And now you have to give it a value. So I'm going to say I have 1 loft, rooms, offices, and then we'll say rooms. I'll add a third one. Bracket, what do I have? Kitchens. Right. Like, who would have more than 1 kitchen? I guess really rich people. I'm not. So I only have kitchens. So I only have 1 kitchen. All right. So now let's see what happens when I print rooms after I add the values. Let's see. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake. Save that. Let's go to here and let's clear the screen. And there we go. And now I've got the room types: other, bedrooms, offices, garages, lofts, bathrooms, kitchens. Now, I'd like to really get rid of that. Let's go print. Let's now remove a dictionary item. So I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to go ahead and remove that other thing. So we're going to go print. No, we're going to do, to do that, you go delete del rooms, and then you put in brackets the exact key value. So other, right? So you just delete rooms other, and then I can just print rooms. We can see what happens there. Now, hopefully you notice that you can replace other or kitchens. You can replace this with a variable. You don't have to actually type the value in there. You can, in this number 1, these 1s and this 5, these can all be replaced with variables. So you could grab input from the user and put that in there and make changes that way. So now I'm going to save that change, and this is my last but not least. We now have no other in our category. So we successfully removed that. So there you go. So congratulations. You now know how to manage lists, tuples, and dictionaries.